Okay. Good afternoon and welcome. This is the May meeting of the New Shoreham Town Planning Board, Wednesday, May 13th. First item on the agenda is for Jen to introduce our guest.
Kendra is here on behalf of Karen Browning, our sister, and we would dance. Yeah, like that. The top one. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you and welcome.
And then Peter on Zoom. I'm trying to figure out where he went.
Well, he'll be back. He's our town planner.
I'm here.
Okay, there he is. All right. Now that we've got all of our introductions out of the way, number one on the agenda is an application to amend the zoning ordinance. Discuss and act on a request to provide the town council with findings and a recommendation on a proposed amendment to the Block Island Land Trust to amend zoning ordinances sections 306E and 410B2 regarding disc golf. And the planning board needs to know that we need to have our response by May 15th. Who's going to be our first spokesman for the disc golf today? Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. At the risk of another introduction, Per Vagi for the Land Trust.
That's all right. We need that.
So, yeah, thank you. All green. So here we are. This should be, there shouldn't be much else to do. Quite frankly, I think we have gone above and beyond what I think even the general laws or the ordinance require an applicant for a text amendment to a zoning ordinance to provide in terms of a very simple, very non-complicated proposal, which I feel has become incredibly more complicated than it needs to be. So this all had its genesis. If you'll bear with me, if you don't need the history behind it, please let me know and I'll spare you some time. But this had its genesis in over a year and a half of discussions in front of Land Trust on what to do with a vacant parcel of land, which was acquired by the Land Trust with proceeds of a DEM recreation easement. Neighbors have approached the trust several times with concerns, and we've addressed all of them, at least before you. What we're here today to discuss is not their concerns about their property or anybody else's concerns about their property. It's about the appropriateness of a district-wide use. Okay? My concern is that, yesterday afternoon, roughly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I got 70 some odd pages of comments and concerns and hyperbole and argument, none of which have any bearing on a district-wide proposal. That's it. So your land use coordinator and I, along with your town planner, have, based upon the input from you all in our last several meetings, or last 3 meetings or 2 meetings, agreed on language that we felt would be appropriate for the notice portion before town council next week. That's all we're here for. I don't know that we need to go any further into the woods. If we need to add any more conditions, I would resist that. The proposal is before the town council, and today we're just looking for a vote on the recommendation to send it to town council.
I think you should look at the language that was advertised. So I think you have it in front of you. The only thing that was uncertain was that buffer of 50 feet, or is it a 50-foot buffer?
Okay,
Vegetated or setback?
it's on page 2 is what we're talking about, or no, wait, sorry, it's page 3. For those of you who have the printout.
So what's been advertised, what's been posted and sent to the town council and to the town clerk for advertising is a 25-foot vegetated buffer, in the absence of which a 50-foot open space buffer would be required. That's it. That's my understanding of where we left off. That's what's been sent up to the town clerk. That's what's been advertised, and that's what we communicated with your land use coordinator.
That's what I remember.
Correct. And my notes were unclear whether or not it was going to be a 50-foot buffer that was vegetated or just like a setback buffer. So I think you should discuss that, and if you.
Well, we discussed it at the end of the meeting or into that part of the meeting, as I recall. And the discussion about vegetated and non-vegetated and explaining what vegetated was. And then the non-vegetated, I asked questions about tee boxes, et cetera. And that, as I remember, was.
Well, take a look at the language
Consensus.
and just make sure, because we're also using the word buffer, but then we're saying it isn't a buffer, so we might want to tighten that up.
In my proposal, I specifically identified a 25-foot vegetated buffer versus a 50-foot open space buffer.
This is under section 410B2A, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah, page 3.
Right.
Other than that, I don't think there were any outstanding
Anything else? that was referenced
concerns
in
or
that?
anything in the language. I mean, you can certainly hear from the public, but that was the only thing that I flagged.
Saying that I wanted a
Everything else was
50-foot
fine.
buffer,
Mhm.
that I was not happy with 25. I don't think that was enough. So I do remember clearly stating that
Right.
last month, and I have not changed my opinion, just so you know.
Okay. I just recall that we had circled around a couple of times,
Yes.
did a couple of loops on that. And if that's still your position, that's fine. It's a consensus vote. It's not necessarily a,
Yeah, we will do a consensus when we get to discuss this after we hear from everybody.
sure.
And then I just want to mention that Gail Ballard Hall is obviously absent, and she did send you her thoughts.
Okay, any questions from the board or Sophia before we hear from the audience? Okay,
And if I may, just to reiterate one point that I've been making throughout each of these proceedings, we're not talking about a specific project here right now.
you were correct on that.
And-
And I did try to emphasize that about the
Right.
vote. We'll say it again. It's two separate processes.
My concern is that if you go too far down the road with this, you start prejudging an application that's not yet before you, and it might make any decision by this board or the town council a little bit, on a little shaky ground, if you know what I mean. Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Sure, of
Remind me, because it's been a while.
course.
Because I've been involved in land purchases that included monies from DEM
Mhm.
for recreation.
Sure.
What are the parameters under which you have to apply for that money?
Sure.
They grant it, and
Mhm.
then what are the requirements after you procure? As far as meeting the DEM's recreational, I don't know. This is why I'm asking.
Yeah,
We've done it at Ball O'Brien. We've done it at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
The town's done it several times, and it was specifically for. If it was for recreation, you had to use it for recreation.
Yeah, and that's consistent with the recreation easement. Oh, I mean, DEM, I'm not going to say they're lazy, but they don't like to reinvent the wheel every time they issue a rec easement. So I don't think it's substantially different. It doesn't specifically identify one type of activity, recreational activity over another, but it is generally the intent and purposes that the purchase of the land contemplates recreational activities being conducted on that property. Thank you.
Okay, are there comments or questions from the audience? Steve, you have to come to the microphone, sir.
I would like to make just one comment on what Mr. Vaje said regarding what I agree is the distinction between the planning process and a subsequent special use permit zoning process regarding the potential location of a disc golf facility. The zoning amendments that you're currently considering were devised over the course of approximately a 2.5-year process undertaken by the Land Trust. And the sole purpose of those amendments is to enable a positive decision to be made regarding a special use permit for a disc golf course in the Old Mill Farms subdivision. The Land Trust has been very transparent about this throughout the process that several of us have attended at their meetings over the past 2.5 years. And everything is focused on making disc golf happen on that property in the middle of the Oldville Farms neighborhood. So for them to argue that there's something more general about it, I think is disingenuous at best.
Thank you. Other comments before we, Bob?
On Appendix B,
We've been-
Robert Closter. On Appendix B, if we could reopen that discussion, because it seems to be in conflict with the new Appendix B amendments proposed April 15th that'll be heard on July 15th for recreational facilities. And all of those categories and zones pertain to special exceptions. Disc golf is a separate category that should be under recreational facilities with special exceptions for all, not just for one.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, can you take a look at that when we talk about the use table? That's what the comment was about.
Yeah, I'd say it's trains on parallel tracks, and we're not sure who's going to reach the station first. So at the station, we'll make sure we get it right.
Good. Okay, other comments?
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, Claire, my name's Tom Wheeler. I live on Coonmas Road. I'm a member of the Lions Club. I'm also on the board of a few not-for-profits out here. So I definitely have a foot in each camp. And I just wanted to come up on behalf of my family and say, there are concerns about this disc golf zoning application process, and we've spoken to Tom and people that are involved with this, and we just wanted to say, if we lived off the coast of Nova Scotia and had 100 people a day visiting the island, we wouldn't be standing here. I think we can all agree that Block Island needs more outside activities for islanders, and certainly nobody here has an issue with the guys and the people of our island having a good time and having fun. However, Society walks as fast as its slowest member, and Block Island sees 15, 20,000 people a day in the summer. And we get a lot of the slowest members of Society when you see those mopeders going down Pilot Hill on a moped. And this disc golf course, as proposed, wherever it may be, will be just as much for the tourists and renters as it will be for our friends and the people of this island. And when I say the guys and our friends, I'm speaking from the Professional Disc Golf Association's latest demographic report. 85 to 90% of the members are male, the largest cohort being 25 to 44-year-olds. And this proposed disc golf course, wherever it may be, is going to represent the only recreational area geared towards young men and people for an activity only geared towards young men and young people. And the zoning and other decisions that need to be made, which have to be made, I would just like to be made through the lens of a weekend in July, as opposed to just the guys and our friends on a day like today in May. And with all that said, I hope that's taken into consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay, you can use that microphone that's right there by you. Just turn it on.
I just want to make something totally clear, and if I haven't already, we're not talking about this project, okay? Whether we get there or not, we're not getting there. We're not there today. What are we talking about? We're talking about a recreational activity, an outdoor recreational activity with minimal disturbance to existing vegetation, topography, and geographical features. That's it. You've heard that. That's the evidence. That's not concerns about what happens on day Y in July. Number two, let's take another look at the RA zone. What else is, what other recreational uses are in the RA zone? Heinz Field is in the RA zone. Are you telling me that a weighted disc thrown at nets is somehow on a field with minimal disruption to geographic features, vegetation, and brush is somehow more intrusive or offensive than 9-a-side kicking a soccer ball around on the same day in July? That's what we're talking about. The reason RA is appropriate is because it's an open space. There's room to move, there's room to buffer out, there's room for setbacks. That's why it's appropriate. You want to put it in a residential neighborhood? We can cross that bridge later when we come to it, but this is purely, is the use appropriate for the zone? This town has already made that determination with special use permits for any other recreational activity, whether it's defined in the ordinance or not. The conditions that we've agreed to so far are so detailed, even your planner called them out. I mean, I took a look just today for comparison. The South Kingstown zoning ordinance for a cannabis facility is less restrictive than what we've agreed to today. But thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
I'd like to enter into evidence the Professional Disc Golf Association Safety Manual.
Give it to Jen.
In that 100 pages for them. And the purpose of safety manual in.
Good. If you will pass it over to Jen, she will do that.
Do you want to read anything about?
I already have a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Other comments or questions?
Molly O'Neill, Pilot Hill. I just wanted to ask for some clarification, that something I may have missed coming up, but like, how many properties are we talking about that would fall under this clarification or change?
Well, it would be
Right.
the residential A zone, so it would be the entire zone.
So it would be the entire zone, it would like,
That's, the ordinance is proposing the residential A zone, that's the only zone. All
However, we have
property.
the option of changing that recommendation if we choose to do so, to add other zones to the list if we choose to do so.
So,
Lot specific.
Molly, like golf courses are allowed in the RA zone.
okay. Right, so that's what I had read, right? Golf courses are permitted in that zone? And this would be a change to allow? I'm just trying
Like
to.
there's not like zone wide, anywhere you could put a golf course in the RA zone, and this would allow zone wide to disc golf.
Okay, sorry, that's all I'm
I'm
wondering.
just saying it's not without, like, it's kind of within the trajectory of how we've zoned the town for the last few decades.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, good.
Yep.
It's definitely not lot specific, even though we've talked about it being potentially in a location, but really it's just the language that is adopted, and then you could have 10 disc golf courses.
The conversation has been going, I thought it was a lot specific.
No, let me say that once again. This is a two-step process. We're only working on step one today, which is the zoning change. And the zoning change would apply to the entire RA zone as we're talking right now, although if the board chooses to add RB to it, we could do so. Step two would be to talk about a specific piece of property, but only after the town council has approved the zoning change.
So an applicant would come in and make an application for a special use permit, and they would go to the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and the Zoning Board for approval.
So once again, today, we're only talking about the zoning change, which we will be sending to the town council next week. So any other comments before we have a discussion here amongst ourselves, which you're welcome to listen to or not as you so choose? Okay, yes, sir.
Dave Cahill, Coonimus Road. Is this advertised as island-wide
It's advertised for the RA.
RA zone? But has it been advertised? Do the people know this? Or it's been focused on this one location?
What went into,
Correct.
if I understand correctly, what went into the newspaper was the RA zone, the entire zone.
Okay.
But I'll let
Right, so
Jim
it's
elaborate
language,
on that.
it's language that would go into our zoning ordinance that would
Mhm.
allow this use
I-
in the residential.
Does the
zone.
public know this, though?
Well, it's been advertised in the paper.
Yeah, I know, but
So it would be for, in the residential A zone, which is about 75% of the island.
that's
this
that's
use
what
would be
you
allowed
put in the paper, I believe.
by a special use permit. So they would still have to apply for a special use permit and then go through that process, which would be a
Yeah.
pretty lengthy process.
What I'm trying to point out is it's been in the paper that it wants to be in such a place. Everybody says, oh, that's good, it's going to be there. But they don't realize, the public doesn't realize it could be in their backyard.
I
The
agree
RA
with
zone.
that.
I think that
It
should
could
be
be.
brought up and told to the public. There's a lot of RA zones.
There are a lot of properties in the residential.
And I think that should be brought up.
We'll
And-
have another, shall we say, bite at the apple when this comes before the town council. So that particular
Yep.
piece of information you want to push getting out before the town council has their hearing.
I should get that out.
Right? Or whoever you want to designate to
Well,
get the word out. It's
I
not.
think it should be on hold a little and let the, I mean, half the public is not even here. They're all, they have summer homes, you know. and you're doing this in the middle of winter.
Year-round regardless, and that is
Yeah, I
true
know.
for all zones, zoning ordinances that we do, and we've done a lot the last 3
Mhm.
years because of the changes at the state level. So
Okay.
that's nothing that's different than what we do, our normal process. And the same goes for the town, for the town council.
Yep. But I think it should be brought to the attention of all RA zoned people.
Well, hopefully they read the newspaper.
Well, that always
As I
doesn't
said,
show
you'll have
up.
another chance when it goes before the town council. So pass the word along. Okay, Steve,
Several of us.
you have to use the microphone.
Sorry.
The microphone, please.
I just wanted to understand the protocol here. Several of us have statements that we wanted to make. I thought a few moments ago you were asking for responses to the statement by the applicant's attorney.
That's fine. As
But
long
we
as
would also like to,
process of the adding to the zoning ordinance, not the process of a particular piece of property.
right,
Because.
yes, I understand.
Okay, you understand. I don't have to repeat it again.
Right, but we have statements that are directed toward the process you're working on
All
now.
right, then that would
We
be.
would like to present.
To it this time.
So we should do that now?
Yes.
Okay, I think Dave, you're first.
Read this, want me to read it? This was put together by the group. Good afternoon, planning board members. Over the past year, residents of Old Mill Farm neighborhood have attended monthly meetings to review the proposed disc golf project. Many neighbors remain concerned that community feedback has not been fully addressed. Support of the disc golf on Block Island appears limited to a small group of individuals with no organized program demonstrating sustained participation for a project this size. We have also seen limited outreach reflecting broader community participation in a co-ed sport. Neighbors remain concerned that the management plans does not sufficiently address safety, security, setbacks, nuisance impacts, parking, scheduling, wildlife habitat protection, and erosion control for properties exceeding over 10 acres. The proposal appears to dedicate uses primarily for disc golf, limiting opportunities for shared or passive recreational uses. Currently, passive uses are limited to a conjoined trail on the northwest corner of the Nature Conservancy, with the Nature Conservancy. We're also concerned with the compatibility of conservation lands. The Nature Conservancy maintains adjoining properties supporting conservation, passive recreation, introducing an intense, active recreational sport raises concerns regarding preservation of environmental goals and neighborhood character. Neighbors encourage consideration of alternative locations such as Heinz Field and Ball O'Brien Park, which already contain established recreational facilities, would minimize residential impacts and better support active sports. Our neighborhood does not believe this is a demonstrated need for tournament-style 18-hole course within a residential setting. The lack of clear zoning definition supporting this level of active recreational use within an RA zone remains a concern, especially when there are attempts to bypass zoning hearings. We respectfully oppose further development of disc golf park within Old Mill Farms, including Plot 12-3 and Plot 11-3. Our intention is not to oppose recreation, but to encourage balanced planning that protects environmental resources and neighborhood compatibility. Sincerely, the neighborhood of Butters. And I would just like to add one thing, in this particular Old Mill Farms. Old Mill Farms has never been completed. It has issues that have never been completed as a subdivision. There are no drainage. There's a drainage easement on Lot 12-324 is the lot. That lot has a 250-foot drainage easement that is supposed to go across that lot. It has never been put in. There are two 10-inch concrete pipes that are supposed to be under the road installed for drainage purposes on this property, 3-1. And it's a concern to me because when we had the rain 15 years ago, substantial in Rhode Island, it flooded my basement. And when I built my house, I had to have an engineered system designed. The house had to be designed at an elevation. The septic system had to be designed and put in with the zoning or the planning. And all that information came off of the prints that are on file in the vault. And that vault, those prints show those drainage easements, drainage pipes, and so forth. So anyway, I ended up with flooded basement and concrete disturbance, cracked concrete flooring. So there's more to this issue than just a disc golf. That subdivision has to be completed. It's never been completed. It should be completed. The owners are the Block Island Land Trust, and they got to fess up to it. I was told by their attorney.
But what we're talking about now is the ordinance. We're not talking.
Yeah,
about
I know.
a particular piece of
I want to get this out, and it's on record. There's also.
To understand what you're all talking about is not the same thing we're dealing with
Yeah.
right now.
Right,
Okay,
I understand that.
thank you.
You bet. I will be back.
Good. Town council will look forward to it.
Robert Closter. In the Block Island Times on April 23rd, 2023, disc golf impacts were publicly discussed. When asked about impacts on a property, Hatfield stated, "It's mowing trails." Scott Cummings stated, "If I were to make a recommendation, you should start very small." David Sniffen stated, "We could put some holes at Heinz Field as proof of a concept." Hatfield further cautioned that you don't want it near walking trails because it can be dangerous. These statements clearly reinforce the need for clearly defined and enforceable safety requirements before any disc golf definition or zoning amendment is adopted. Enforceable safeguards and compatibility standards must be established prior to approval. The Professional Disc Golf Association Safety Standards Manual, which I gave you, provides recognized best practice recommendations intended to protect the safety and well-being of the residents and players. However, the applicant has not incorporated these guidelines and principles into the proposed standards or definitions. The proposal also fails to adequately address critical planning considerations, including PDGA course design guidance, which Barbara McMullen told me she'd get a professional designer, which she never did in a land trust meeting. Adequate setbacks and buffers, parking demand and roadway congestion, environmental compatibility, impacts on abutting neighborhoods, and conflicts with walkers using conservation lands and trails. RA zoning exists for a reason, and it's intended to preserve open land, protect the rural character, reduce incompatible high-intensity uses such as disc golf, and safeguard neighborhood compatibility. This proposal raises broader concerns involving long-term land use policy around Block Island, protection of conservation purposes, and responsible, comprehensive planning for the future of the island community. The New Shore and Planning Board should therefore issue an unfavorable recommendation on the proposed amendment, or require substantially stronger and enforceable standards and compatibility protections for the greater good of the island residents before forwarding any recommendation to the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Stephen Record again. Good afternoon, members of the planning board. Thank you for your time and attention. My brief remarks will focus on technical factors that determine whether a disc golf course is safe and compatible with surrounding land uses. Disc golf is often described as low impact. That assessment may be accurate to some extent, but only when the course is expertly designed and properly sited. At its core, disc golf involves repeated throws of high-speed projectiles capable of traveling hundreds of feet. The Professional Disc Golf Association's guidance is very clear. Safety is the primary design constraint, not aesthetics, not recreation value, but safety. And this is the Professional Disc Golf Association's guidance. There's a direct relationship between space and safety. When there is insufficient acreage, insufficient setbacks, or insufficient buffering, the result is predictable. Discs leave the property, conflicts occur, and neighbors are adversely affected. That is why widely accepted standards include approximately 1 acre per hole, setbacks on the order of 200 to 300 feet from residences and roads, and substantial vegetative buffers designed to actually stop or intercept errant throws. In southern New England, successful disc golf courses are not placed tightly against residential boundaries. They rely on large parcels and dense woodland. That is not incidental, it's what makes them safe. You may hear that disc golf is passive recreation. The activity may be quiet, but the risk profile is defined by the flight of the disc, and that is what must be managed. You may also hear that design alone can solve these issues on smaller sites. Good design may help, but it cannot substitute for adequate space and separation. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the board to adopt clear, enforceable standards, including minimum acreage, meaningful setbacks, and real buffers, so that disc golf courses are developed on Block Island only where they can function safely. It's not about opposing disc golf. It is about ensuring that, where it is allowed, it is done in a way that protects neighbors, preserves community character, and avoids foreseeable conflicts. Thank you for your
Thank you, Pete.
consideration.
No one else parting the burden of mind having my last word.
I have a quick question for last words, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Sorry. Hi, everyone again, Tom Wheeler. Thanks again for putting up with all this. Quick question, does this zoning matter pertain to like in terms of use of like general public use to organized recreational use, like having like tournaments and things of that nature? Is there any differentiation in what would be allowed under the zoning? So is it general public or like tournament style kind of a things?
Heinz Field is used for general public and tournament style. It's a recreational
Put
facility.
that to the recreation department too.
Well, no, it would be under it would be the land trust, but it would be under recreation in the zoning ordinance. And
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we're talking about open to the public and tournaments.
Okay.
That's at least what I've heard so far.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Anybody from the land trust want to comment on that? Okay.
Stupid bottle. Very simply, we're not there yet. If somebody proposes a tournament, I think they would have to do that through the rec department. They'd have to talk to us. We're not even there yet. I mean, that's just so far down the road.
You could do it. Under this ordinance, a tournament would be allowed.
There's nothing that would preclude it.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
want to,
yeah.
be clear. Yep.
So, all right, I just want to have the last word. This is sort of a classic situation where you don't understand a particular activity and you want to standardize it and regulate it to death so that you can't get it. And I want to analogize this to soccer, right? Because what he just described, what Mr. Record and Mr. Kloster just described is soccer. High-speed projectiles traveling at long distances with the potential to cause personal property damage or injury. Okay, Heinz Field has 2 soccer fields, 2 baseball fields in a residential area in the same zone. It's compatible. I don't see any standards nearly approaching what's been put on this particular use that would be applied to soccer. They're just not there. They're not in your ordinance. So by definition and by logic, if this fails, we just put a soccer field in there. And then we'll be back here again screaming and yelling about whether this is an appropriate use for an RA zone when it's already been determined to be so. The sole purpose of this exercise.
Why haven't you gone by the safety man?
Why hasn't FIFA been consulted on Heinz Field?
But you keep bringing up Heinz Field, and that's a prior existing non-conforming use. So I just need to say that because this is a new use that you're reviewing and vetting the legal language that's going to be in the zoning ordinance, where Heinz Field has been there for a very, very long time. That's not a new use.
It's a recreational use. So our initial position was that this was a little bit too onerous, but we went along with it anyway because we thought that there would be some public understanding about this. This is a recreational use, make no mistake. So the general category of recreational use, this would fall under, but the town wanted a definition for it and we provided that. They wanted some standards for it and we provided that. We have provided far more standards than the town of South Kingstown has required for cannabis. I think that says something. Thank you.
Recreational use it's already allowed in the residential A zone. So it's just that this is a new category. So, but Heinz Field is prior existing.
Okay.
Hope Rosa. I am part of the Old Mill Farm community. I live on Coonamus Road, and I feel that they are not being transparent about their ultimate goal in doing large-scale tournaments and having large gatherings. I feel like they're trying to make it get past by saying like, oh, it's just a couple guys throwing frisbees a short distance. That's not what we've heard in the plans for this, their plan for this. So I'd just like to say that I feel like they are not transparent in their intentions of this and just acting like this is like a couple guys throwing a frisbee. And I have deep concerns about how this affects this community and my neighbors, and especially the proposed parking is deeply concerning to me.
Thank you. Okay. Any last chance? Anybody else have comments or questions? Okay, then the board will have a chance to go through a couple of these. Let me start with a couple of concerns that have been raised that we may want to make sure. Gail wants to know and sent a letter to all of you. Did we want to add any other zones besides the RA zone, or to keep the RA zone as the only zone as we currently have it? Anybody have any comments or thoughts on that?
I
I'm
think this is
generally
the
not-
proposed-
Not opposed to it being in other zones. I thought we had sort of determined that there weren't going to be pieces of property that would be large enough to support it in other zones, but that was one of my questions as well, looking back through it again, was why we were restricting it to
Restricting it
just
to
RA.
zone.
And kind of to a point that someone brought up about the new use table and recreational facilities being allowed by special use permit in all zones, keeping that consistent. I guess I wouldn't be opposed to making a recommendation, but that.
I mean, it's possible that there are lots large enough to
In,
accommodate this use
it
in
could be either in the mixed zone or in the RB zone.
RB.
Yeah.
It could even be in New Harbor Commercial. Especially nine holes. Is that right? You know, then it would be, it's possible.
Yeah.
Then perhaps to keep this from having to come back to us again, maybe we could work that into our language when it goes to the town council. That I don't know if that's the correct process, Jen, but just to keep it from having to be re-advertised. And
Yeah, you could put that in your recommendation and send it along to the council.
How does the rest of the board feel?
I agree.
I agree. Chris, how do you feel?
Yeah, why zone specific to just RA?
Okay, so you're.
I mean, recreation in general shouldn't be zone specific to
with-
RA.
To everybody,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
okay? Maddie and, and
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I was going to mention that as well, especially in the comprehensive plan. One of the, I think, medium-term actions that's described is to identify potential locations for future development of playing fields to relieve issues of overuse and scheduling conflicts, which I think is actually to the point that Tommy brought up about just how many more people are here in the summer. And so limiting us to one zone doesn't seem like, we're doing ourselves a disservice at the end of the day.
okay,
Could we talk about the zones that you would like to add? New Harbor Commercial, Old Harbor Commercial, Service Commercial, RC, RCM, RB, all of them, except for PD in
I
the
wouldn't add
special
utility
zone.
district, the-
Right, like take the other special zones.
The
out.
specialty zones,
Okay.
leave those out, but I
Yeah.
do mixed zones, RB, RA, commercial,
Yes.
Old Harbor, commercial, New Harbor, commercial, and service commercial.
Okay.
Okay, does everybody agree with that?
Right, the special zones, just for the audience,
special
the
zo-
lots aren't
yeah.
large enough, so.
Yeah, it's a medical
it would
center,
work.
the school, and the dump.
Okay.
All right. Second concern I had down here, vegetative buffers. There seemed to be some confusion about what the magic number is for the setbacks. I personally would like to see at least 50 feet setback for a vegetated buffer. 20, what's this room? I know it's one's 25 feet, that which is about the size of this room. That's not very large. And in my opinion, from what because I don't play sports, but I do go to the beach and I see Frisbees fly around and they go a lot further than what the size of this room is. So I'd like to go to at least 50 feet and I could be talked into something higher. So how does the rest of the group feel about that?
I felt it should be greater than 100, more seriously, more closer to 100, 100.
A lot of the books recommend between 50 and 100 feet minimum. Nobody in the material that I was read said anything about 25. So I think that's probably a little low. So let's go. So you're okay with that? Claire, how do you feel?
I don't know. 25 feet of dense brush to me is pretty difficult to get something through.
Unless it
I'm
goes
okay.
over the top.
Yeah, I guess to me, it feels, I'll just sort of say for myself. I appreciate so much the comments that this neighborhood has brought to us. When I think about this project, I think about it going in my front yard, because how could, you have to think about it that way. I think my biggest concerns throughout this process have been the parking, the buffers, the noise, the hours of operation, and I think that the applicant has done a very good job at addressing those concerns. I think about this specifically for myself because I know that that's the position that you're in, but we are also in a position where we're thinking about this for the whole island. And so that is where we should be focused. And in my opinion, I think 25 feet of dense brush would adequately stop a projectile like that. I would feel comfortable with something like that. I went out and had a look at what that looks like in my yard, and it felt adequate. If other people on the board feel that it should be 50, I'm not gonna fight that, but I don't think it should be more than 50 myself.
Okay, Chris?
I'm satisfied with how it was advertised.
Okay, Mary?
I'm really following Claire's complete comments and feel a little bit more comfortable somewhere between 25 and 50. And also to your comment, Marty, about the height of that dense thicket. How dense is it? How high is it? It's a concern.
Well, I think should specify when it's maintained, not to make it, it's not grow up. I think.
Yeah, but are they gonna be planting stuff? Because what's there is quite low.
When there's a maintenance plan, that should definitely specify to maintain.
Standards.
Standard height.
Maddie?
I'm comfortable with 25 as well. And I agree with Claire that anything above 50 I don't think is necessary.
Okay, so the question is we're gonna go with 25 or 50?
Going once, going twice.
I think we could, my consent, my feeling is to keep it as written, as it was advertised.
Okay,
25 vegetative, 50
setback,
yeah.
okay. Right, but, yeah, okay.
If already vegetated, then they're not spending all this money and time to plant plants there, so,
But-
Okay, we'll keep it at
No,
To clarify, so it's
Yeah.
going to be a 50-foot setback and 25 feet of that.
well, it says.
no, that's not what it says.
Okay, because I thought that's what I didn't think that was what it was, but I felt like that was what you just.
Well, it said vegetated not less than 25 feet wide between the active fairways, the greens, the tee boxes, and any abutting residential property. Where vegetation is not present or practical, a 50-foot wide buffer is required. So, if it's,
you're reading from the wrong version of that.
ma'am,
Yes. We didn't talk about the active fairways, greens, tee box, we talked about the.
okay, I just took it off what was advertised previously.
I think one of that's a little bit different.
Sorry, I got this from the clerk's office. Let me see.
Yeah, want to make sure we get it right.
I still see it. So, do you want to read yours, Chris? No, I don't know.
This is from,
And if I'm mistaken, I apologize for my recollection that we have eliminated the tee boxes, fairways, greens, type of thing, and just left it between the adjoining properties.
What I
it
have.
was on page.
Okay, I have to do that.
Page
Okay.
3, section 410B 2A.
Yes. So
This golf requires a vegetated brush vegetated / brush buffer no less than 25 feet wide abutting residential properties where vegetated buffering is not present or practical, a 50-foot wide buffer, open space buffer is required.
Yeah.
Okay, so it takes out the active fairways, the greens, the tee box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to be, whole thing be 50-foot setback, but I could live with this.
I just want to make sure that we're not misleading the audience. We're discussing having a field in all zones except RA or including RA.
All zones is what we were recommending.
I'm strongly opposed to that. If anything, and this is after 3 hours or more of reading, if anything, this sport, which has a moderate impact on the environment, is incompatible with RA. So my argument is going to be, if you're going to have it anywhere but in RA. And I have my reasons. I think it should be in an area that is similar, or a neighborhood that is similar, such as Heinz Field or Ball Bryan. I disagree with the statement that the field creates minimal disturbance. It does not. If you look at how we maintain our trails, we move them, we change them over periods of years so that the nature can have an opportunity to grow back. That cannot happen here. There is no alternating mowing. And because the public always tramples the soil, you're going to have the soil compacted, and the grass or whatever green is growing there will eventually die. And that in turn creates increased chances of erosion. And when you lose your plants, you lose your wildlife. And I don't think that 10 acres is a small piece of land that we should sacrifice. My other concern is that District A prides itself on passive recreation in its open space, walking being the primary one. And we walk on trails because we want to hear nature as well as see it. The noise level of daily and consistent use of a disc golf field will interfere with the ability to peacefully hear the sounds of nature. District A, RA, does not want constant congestion in terms of traffic and constant gathering of people. When you have daily use from morning till night by groups, that is a whole different noise level compared to people who hike the trails. I also, and I stated this in my earlier comments, I think there's a loss of privacy for the neighboring properties. The privacy is violated when inevitably some of these discs could land on their property and they're expensive and people will go and look for them and trespass. At other times, people will trespass onto the neighboring properties because there are no signs that says, okay, this is the end of your field. You're not allowed to cross over. It would necessitate homeowners to build the fences or to put up all the signs everywhere. And my other arguments are off today's point. I have more arguments, but that does not address the RA usage. So I'm strongly opposed to this happening in the RA zone, but I'm open to other zones, especially where similar activities are already occurring. Thank you.
I just want to make one point that might be a question of the applicant. I think you can move the fairways. Like they can change season to season, I believe.
Do you understand that? Okay, the holes could move.
The holes could move, but people are going to be running around that property.
Sure. Okay, other comments? Those were the concerns I had. And we've heard Sosha's. Claire, you have other concerns that we haven't mentioned?
I do not. I think I think I've said my piece on how I feel about
Okay.
it.
Chris?
I'm fine, thanks.
Mary?
Thanks. Yeah, like Claire, I'm very intrigued with the comments of the neighbors and their concern. And also with the concern that there isn't a really specific standard set before us, although the applicant's done a good job in pulling together, you know, the information to build this as a proposal. It still feels, I guess, like Gail, I feel still uncomfortable about the RA zone as well and the use there. And if we're making a zoning decision for an island-wide use, I just feel like I haven't honestly done enough investigation with the existing parcels. I got the deeds from Heidi Tarbox yesterday and went through them. And one of the descriptions of I think the land use sort of the land use guidelines from 1987 and 2002, they were rewritten. One of the things that jumped out at me there was all the rules and regulations of the trust are subject to the approval of town council. And I just feel still a little bit hesitant to make a recommendation to town council that really, this is just my statement, that really reflects a full understanding of rewriting this zoning ordinance today. So I'm a little undecided.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Sorry.
Mary, can I ask you, what standards do you mean that exist now for other uses that aren't being addressed here? Specifically, like, give me an example of.
For other uses.
So what we're talking about is a zoning change to allow a particular recreational activity.
Right.
So what other approvals or zoning uses are allowed, it doesn't matter what district, that have the level of, have what you're looking for in this? I need an example, because right now, we're just allowing a use in a zone, and then the applicant or applicants down the line would have to then provide what I think you're asking for in their special use. permit.
I guess that's exactly where I'm
Yeah.
stuck,
It would be part of their.
but it would be part of their application.
To clarify, the board's considering of this, they can ask for specific information for a project or ask that the applicant submit a land development application to move together with this proposed amendment. So if you feel like you need additional information, the board certainly may ask for that.
You're right.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
And then you could, just like you do with other projects where you ask for additional information, different plans or reducing the size of a house, whatever it is.
Right.
So you would still go through that whole process.
Right. I guess that's why I'm stuck there, because it feels, I understand that next step, as Margie described it, as you described it, and your question is appropriate, Chris, but it feels like I'm getting too far ahead of my skis. It feels like if this goes forward, then they come to us for a special use permit and we go through the application, as you say, checking off these boxes or standards. Maybe that's enough, but it just feels.
Well, in addition to everything that's
Yeah.
required as on the application. So if you look at a zoning application, the application itself, then you have the checklist for special use permit, and then, or if you end up in a land development project, there's a ton of checklists. So,
Right.
I mean, there's just so much information that could be provided or or ask for a waiver. You may have more information. I think it's difficult because
Yeah.
it's been talked about publicly, but yet we're not talking about a specific project.
Exactly. We're not talking
No,
about a
it's
specific location of
prohibited,
project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, is there anything
Yes.
you would want to add to the zoning ordinance that makes sure that it tightens it up some? In other words, we've talked about parking and lighting and noise
right.
and so forth.
Management plan, management plan was in there.
I'm afraid to look
No,
and see if it's still in there because I don't think I have the correct.
I'll be submitted.
I mean, the reason I'm asking Mary is because I want to know is there something that's not, like, besides getting down to some of the nitty gritty, like Mr. Costa brought up, safety standards. Well, that would come in an application for specific, like, I understand that. And
Yeah.
there's got to be some due diligence when there's a special use permit being asked
Alright.
for the actual use with an actual design, et cetera.
It's hours of operation, sanitation, maintenance of property and structures, communication, points of contact, responsible parties, signage, no pets, parking spaces, 6 required for a 9-hole golf course, conduct of what's allowed and not allowed, no pets, and the neighborhood considerations.
And I think social would added noise to that.
If noise is not in
Maybe
here,
that's
then it
within
certainly should
neighborhood
be.
consideration.
Well, there's also a noise ordinance, but it's
True.
also, and that could evolve. The management agreement may have all of the things that they're required to have, but might change if the land trust works with the abutters to avoid an appeal and all of that. So maybe they come up with some agreement and they may have additional information in their management agreement. Right, that makes a lot of sense to do something like that, and then everyone's happy.
All right. Maddie?
Just wanted to push back a little bit on the privacy concerns regarding trespassing, only because to me trespassing is a choice, not necessarily a characteristic of a land use. And further, my husband and I are still in that kind of seasonal moving around every season. So I've lived in a ton of places, I feel like, and 25 feet of vegetation, I can really only pick maybe 1 or 2 places in the past 8 years that I've lived out here that even has that. And so that in and of itself seems like you're actually supporting the privacy of abutting properties.
The 25 feet is supporting the privacy?
Yes, I understand what she said.
Right, so I'm saying that when I look out the window, very rarely do I see 25 feet of vegetation between
I see.
myself and our neighbors.
Yeah, kind of my final point here is, the applicant didn't come before us with a proposed plan. I understand that that has been part of the conversation and all that. And I just want to say, at the moment, because I haven't seen that plan, given the ordinance that's in front of us, I'm not sure that I would vote in favor of giving a special use permit at this moment for that exact location. However, the way that it has been laid out and the number of considerations that have been put into the ordinance, I do feel comfortable that there is enough language there for an applicant to come before us, apply for a special use permit, for us to address all of the concerns that the neighbors have brought up. So I guess I applaud the applicant for doing that work to make it possible for us to have some clear and objective criteria for us when we are considering these projects going forward. That's my final piece on all this.
Well, we have the option of sending, we send this forward with either a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation with our facts of findings of whichever way we choose to go.
Just keep in mind that when you're voting on it, it's the language that is advertised. And then if you have additional comments, you can certainly add whatever you would like. But just in all fairness to the applicant, you want to vote on their language. Something else.
Okay. So I will make a motion for a favorable advisory. And you could either agree or disagree. And I will make a favorable recommendation to the town council to add a zoning section 401 to 410, allowing disc golf as a permitted use solely in the RA zone, because that's the way this is written at the present time. Facts of finding, we want it to be consistent with the comp plan to ensure compatibility with the desired land use pattern. 2, updated definitions of disc golf will allow residents increased clarity when seeking to make changes on this island. 3, specific amendments for disc golf will include sufficient safeguards to protect public health, safety, and welfare, and hopefully limit negative impacts. 4, disc golf course utilizes the existing environment, so no chemicals or fertilizer needed, and would protect the scenic character of the island since minimal alterations to landscape would be needed. 6, 5, it would promote maintaining open space, and 6, promote health, physical fitness, and social interaction. Others that you'd like to add, or others that you'd like to take out?
I'd like included a recommendation that they consider this for other zones, not just RA.
Okay, number 7, consider this amendment to apply to all other,
Or the ones that we listed,
to all the zones, we listed.
the RB, RC, and.
Yeah, RB in commercial, so. Okay, any other additions?
I know, Claire, do you want to add anything that you said about like because this is not a specific project, it's for the entire zone, anything? I'll try.
Yeah, sure. Just that, that I feel that the proposal before us provides, what is it? Specific and objective, what's our buzzword? That one? Criteria for when they come before us when
Specific.
when an applicant comes before us with a special use permit application here that I feel.
Okay, specific criteria for a special use permit. You can, you added that in. Okay, so that was the number 8.
Okay, so I will add that.
Anybody else have anything they want to add or anything you want me to remove? Okay. You can vote against it. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. You get it counted?
Mary, are you? I am not.
Okay. Although, so you've got four who are voting for it.
So Maddie, Chris, Claire, and Margie
Right.
are voting in
for it.
favor.
Okay, all those opposed? Okay,
Sosha and Mary are voting against.
Fine. It doesn't hurt that the town council sees that we're split on this. Okay. And I want to thank the audience very much for all of your participation. You've put a lot of hard work into this, and this is the way the process should work. So thank you all very much. And you will have a chance to talk to the town council over the next several weeks.
Thank you, everybody.
The old language and then the new language underneath.
Yes, I found it.
Yeah, and I have the stuff on the back side there.
I just picked up what was on top, so.
Yes. Okay, let me find my. All right. Number 2, application to amend zoning ordinance. Discuss and act on a request to provide the town council with findings and a recommendation on a proposed amendment to the Block Island Veterinary Initiative to amend the zoning ordinance sections 111 and 112 regarding a mobile unit by use by visiting veterinarians. Planning board must respond to this by June 6th. That's for us. Okay. Sue, come in and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for having us. I'm assuming that you have this memo that came from the consulting town planner just today? Yes? Okay, all right, great, thank you. And would you like me to speak to the background for this project so you understand where we're coming from?
Yes, I think a quick background would be an excellent idea.
Okay.
I mean, we understand this, and I think most of us are very supportive. However, for the record.
All right, well, let me give you brief background for the record, at least. Block Island Veterinary Initiative is a 501c3 nonprofit organization started in September of 2025 by myself and Vashti Brotherhood. The board consists of myself, Vashti Brotherhood, Meg Vitacco, and Will Young. With the mission of bringing year-round sustainable veterinary services to Block Island. We came to the idea of a mobile veterinary unit by speaking with existing vets and also by looking at the history of veterinary services on the island. Those of you who've been here a long time, which is everybody, will know that we have a terrible lack of on-island veterinary services for our pets. And we have had a number of disasters over the years with pets who could not be transported on time because of the lack of veterinary services, as well as quite a swell of what I would call benign neglect, I guess, of pets, because it's difficult to get an animal to the mainland for basic vaccinations and well care and that kind of thing. So in discussion with the triage vet who's coming out here right now, Dr. Simpson, one of my questions in the fall to him was, what prevents a veterinarian from being successful on Block Island? Because we have had, as on the island, agreements with a few other veterinary practices over the years. They usually come in excited about providing veterinary services on the island. They come once a week or once a month, and it lasts for a couple of months because what they lack, which is what Dr. Simpson immediately pointed out, is equipment. So vets who come over carrying a satchel are able at best to do vaccinations and refer animals to care on the mainland, which is where they would have already been going before that, or not in many cases. So in discussion with our group and with both Doc Simpson, who comes over now, and a number of other veterinarians, we've hit on the idea that a mobile unit which stays on Block Island, does not transport to Block Island, would provide sophisticated and extensive veterinary abilities for visiting veterinarians to use. So if we bring in there are a number of companies that produce these trailers. If we bring in a 20-foot trailer, it would contain surgical abilities, anesthetic abilities, x-rays, we could provide both emergency and extensive veterinary services through the vets that visit us if we had such an ability. So what stops us there is the zoning, and when it comes to the use of a trailer like this on Block Island, which is why we've gone into the zoning issues and identified general prohibitions under section 111A23, which if we add to that, there's the current exemptions already for trailers, that trailer use by licensed visiting veterinarians, then we'll cover the use of a trailer like that without opening up a can of worms for other possibilities related to trailer use on the island. I'm happy to talk further about that trailer and how it works. It's the one that we're targeting is 20 feet long. It's a bumper pull, meaning it can be moved quite easily with a truck. So we would not envision moving the trailer, or it's not a mobile unit that would drive around to people's houses. It's a unit that will stay in place that people will bring their pets to. Oh, by the way, we also did a needs assessment back in January with a survey that Byra helped us distribute. We got over 100 responses fairly quickly and a huge amount of support from both people who live year-round on the island, who are here in the summer, and also visitors who said they hesitate to bring their pets to the island, especially when they're older, because they know we lack veterinary services. That said, in case it's going through your mind, we admit that having a veterinary trailer here will not mean we have veterinary services 24/7. Unless a vet decides to retire and live here and be available for that service, which could happen, right? I mean, I'd be all for that. But we wouldn't be advertising the service as guaranteed 24/7. But it would be a huge upgrade over what we're currently able to provide. And we believe it's a really appropriate use for the town for us to have this kind of service available, both for people who live here and for people who visit here. So again, I was talking about the bumper pull briefly. Should we need to move that trailer for any particular reason, it's fairly easily movable.
Did I miss where you want to put the trailer?
I questioned also.
What? Yes, we have.
Gotta store it.
Yes, while it will live, we hope. There could be other possibilities, but we do have an offer from the Drapers at the animal farm, which does seem to us to be an ideal location. And they do have 2 existing lots that are not currently over or built out, or they don't have an issue with space on 2 lots that Seth identified as a real possibility.
Just curious, does a trailer like that have to be insulated or?
Yes,
And
yes. The trailer itself is insulated, heated, air conditioned. It comes with, it has a 15-gallon freshwater tank and a 15-gallon gray water tank. And a generator. So it's self-supporting, with the exception that it will need to be pumped for the gray water and those types of things, definitely. But it doesn't require it to be connected to existing plumbing or connected to existing power, because it powers itself that way.
I'm in favor.
Other questions? Vashti's happy to answer questions as well, I'm sure. And do you have other questions about the one reason? Sorry, one reason we're hoping to move forward is that this is a very expensive project, and we understand that, and we have a lot of fundraising to do. We haven't wanted to directly start our intensive fundraising until we're sure that we have the town support that in order to purchase and put the trailer somewhere appropriate. We do believe the money can be raised,
And
however.
if the board does give you a favorable advisory, then just make sure you take remember how we changed the language slightly?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
we get that to Millie, so it's advertised correctly. it'll also be incorporated in their motion, but
Yes.
as
the-
the applicant should also do.
Yeah, the language, I have it here, plus I had sent it to
Yeah,
you. We
I
did
think
change
that's
the
what we did.
language so that we are
We-
looking directly at section 23.
Right, we were just,
Yes.
we just moved it a little bit.
Okay,
So
so I guess I have a couple of technical questions, which would either go to Jen or Peter. Do we need to limit the zones where this would be allowed to use, or can it be anywhere on the island? And do we need to limit the size of the trailer? Those are just sort of technical questions.
it would allow it in every zone on the island, and it does not put any limitations.
Okay,
As far as
good.
size or lighting, it doesn't.
It's not every zone. It's where professional services are allowed.
Okay,
Sorry,
So it falls under, and that's all right. It falls under professional service.
because we're adding it, okay.
so a
The professional
professional
and
service,
business
so basically.
So
they can-
a vet is allowed. What's not allowed is a trailer. So they want to use a trailer. So they want the zoning amendment, but a vet could open up on the island tomorrow.
Right, it's
Yeah.
just that they can't have. it-
Yeah,
it's
but
the
what I
trailer.
want to make sure is that we can use it wherever we need to put that into the ordinance. That's where I'm coming from.
So professional and business services is most of the zone. It's not RBRA. I think it's
Yeah.
allowed in the other, everything else.
Okay. So
Or
I just,
almost.
I guess where I was headed is if we needed to specifically state
Ability.
where it would be allowed to operate, or specifically say a trailer can't be larger than X, Y, Z. I wanted to get it into the zoning changes.
Mhm.
And I noticed that Peter recommended we do a limit of 2 veterinarian trailers. I'm not sure that's necessary because when you're talking about the expenses, it's probably going to limit it to just
Yeah.
one, but
Yeah,
if you don't have a problem with 2, we'll leave it in the.
From our perspective, we're certainly only talking about one.
Yes.
I'm not sure why the town planner recommended 2.
I don't
It,
either.
it,
We'll
it-
let's ask him.
it
Peter, what-
may-
Well, because it could also be, it might not just be Sue, like what if it's other entities decide to come out and. I don't think it's a bad idea to
No, it makes sense.
limit it to 1 or 2. I agree.
It's like the food
Right.
trucks, they have
Okay.
limits.
So, yes, Soja, you bring that up. For me, this is less of a trailer and more of a food truck-esque. Obviously, it's different things. But in terms of,
You'll find food in both.
But you can't eat the cats. No
Can't eat
eating
the
the cats.
but I feel like, am I incorrect that food trucks are permitted for a specific location?
They are.
Because
They
that
are,
for
but
me is
they-
one hang up here. I'm very supportive of the idea, but the idea of it being at the town beach parking lot in August, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
are there any restrictions on where you can operate?
I think.
And should we
it-
have those?
This is more your purview than ours, but I think you could easily restrict to a residential, commercial mixed zone.
It is. So that's what Peter had just said. So wherever professional and business services is
Right.
allowed, so it would
I
prohibit RBRA.
do
You wouldn't see it at
understand
the
that.
beach.
Mhm.
Am I incorrect though that food truck, like you can have one at the Southeast Light, you can have one,
Yeah.
like when they come before the town council for permits, they have to have their site picked out, is that correct?
Correct. So
So
this
I'm
would be
wondering
different. This
if-
would be through zoning, and it would, the town council wouldn't review it under like the food truck
Got it.
permits, because you wouldn't be allowed to have a restaurant in the residential A zone.
Right.
But because the state law changed and allowed mobile food trucks, the council grants those.
Got it.
Yeah, the,
And I'm not necessarily suggesting that it needs to go through a food truck process. I more was using that as an example of a different use that has that tied to it, where when this use is being permitted, it has to be tied to a location. And I
Yeah.
wonder if that's something that could be figured out where, it sounds like that sounds like a great spot. Could it be that it was permitted, you're able to have this type of trailer and it was permitted to be used in that specific location or in a couple of locations that were approved
Well, they could, I mean, so say they went to the Draper's location and then it, for whatever reason, didn't work out and they needed to move to a different location, they would do that through the building and land use office and it wouldn't require, it may not require any additional review.
Okay.
Because professional and business services is a permitted use. It's not a special use permit, very different than disc golf. So you would be able to, like, I would work with the applicant to work through what they
Find
were, they
appropriate.
needed for parking, like it's probably very limited.
Okay, so all that is, I guess that was my
Yep.
only concern about this or one of my main concern about this application, though I am in favor of it, was this idea that it could be parked on the side of Corneck Road and you could be running, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to make sure that that was being
Yeah.
controlled for.
Yeah, I think right now
Good
it's
point.
perfect. That's why I want to know, did we need to zone to make sure that you could continue to be in this section that would be like that and be legal? Because it does have to have some parking and other
Right.
safety.
Right,
So
well,
it
that's,
would
that's
comply
what makes the Draper location
Here's the
ideal,
business
but,
services, right?
but
Professional and business services under the ordinance doesn't include veterinary care, so that's something we may want to consider
I think we
incorporating.
looked at it, so Peter said it's, medical services, I think it
That's
falls under medical
medical.
services.
Mhm,
but-
it should.
Right, because it says medical services, sorry. So.
Can I go
I
back?
think that
Okay.
my gut reaction that medical for me
Right.
is humans,
Right.
not necessarily.
Yeah.
Can I go back for a second when you said you had to do some fundraising?
sorry, Sophie, I can't hear you.
Oh,
That could be me, but
okay. Have you thought of approaching Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank?
for money,
Yeah.
we'll be looking other places for money. We haven't looked at that particular source. We have a couple of grant applications out right now. We have actually received one grant already. And we will, once we feel more confident that, you know, we don't want to, we don't want to be asking bigger donors for bigger money until we feel we can confidently tell them the trailer will be allowed. Because that's a kind of a hard end to the, by the way, would you like to give me $100,000, right? So, but we certainly will look into other granting and other opportunities.
They're very versatile in their donations.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
Infrastructure.
Rhode Island Infrastructure. We'll certainly look into it.
Whereas the Rosa Fund, for example, is less flexible. And they're more interested in doing something for the poorest of the poor first, but not the infrastructure bank.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
we'll do that offline, so that's really not
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of what we're working
Okay.
on.
Yep.
Not that I hate to cut you off, but I am cutting.
No,
you
it's
off.
fine. It's fine. Yes?
Could I ask a couple questions about the zoning before we jump to how to fund it?
Sure.
So,
We're not funding it. That's
Yeah.
not part of it.
No, we're not asking for that.
but I have a couple questions about, so you're talking about changing a zoning ordinance, right, for this? So I have a question, if, let's say we have an existing business or a couple of businesses that travel from home to groom dogs, is that a permitted use? Can they do that? Or how would this differ?
It's my understanding that this is a trailer, so it will not be connected to a truck. It will be, right, it's gonna be stationary, it's gonna
Right.
stay there. And I did not review the dog groomer application. And I obviously don't have any plans in front of me to review the
So
previous.
the general principle on that is, like, if you're going to someone's house to cut their hair, that's fine. When someone else from another side of town comes over and you're cutting their hair as well, that's a commercial operation. So a dog grooming operation going door to door to service dogs in their houses is not as so much of a zoning issue as if someone set up a service in someone's house that other people were coming to. So for a vet to come out on the island and make visits to people's homes is fine. When they set up a trailer in a centralized location and people are coming, then that's becoming a commercial use that can have zoning issues. The particular issue here is that the trailer ordinance prohibition, which was just changed by the planning board and the council, like within the last year to make it more lenient, is still not allowing the type of trailer that the applicant would like.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that it didn't need to all be incorporated into one. And then I'm just going to be a nudge about this and say that I'm concerned about the language that you used when you introduced this topic, because you started by saying you think everyone is in favor of this, which would indicate a rolling quorum. And I think that you just have to be careful about the language you use when you introduce a topic.
Okay, thank you.
Just one more point of clarity in case that helps is that the trailer itself would be owned by the nonprofit organization, by Block Island Veterinary Initiative, and the visiting veterinarians would bring with them their licenses, billing practices, malpractice insurance, all of the things that a veterinarian needs to have in order to practice. So we were not opening a separate veterinary hospital under our auspices, but having the vets use the facility with their own information. And part of that, we have been in consultation also with Dr. Hannafin, who has practiced for years on the island in large animals and also is very involved in legislative and legal issues with veterinary practice in Rhode Island. So he's incredibly helpful to know how a practice like this legally operates.
Can I ask a question about that? I just wondered, in looking up some of the details from other towns that have done this, some of the questions they had made me think, are there standards that you have to abide by when you're setting up that trailer? Like, for example, standards for sanitation and adequate water and drug storage. You said that it had coolers, so that can be a place where the drugs can safely be stored.
Right.
That would continue. And
Yes,
locked.
locked. Yeah, there's locking pharmacology storage, and which is very important in veterinary practice and something that we lack on the island right now.
Yeah, that came up in my
in
reading,
any way. And yes, there are definitely standards that go with the safety of the trailer itself. If it has X-ray equipment, there are X-ray standards that have to be fire hazards,
bio-waste.
all of those things that luckily the companies that produce these trailers are very helpful in this too, because this is a common system in rural underserved communities to use a trailer setup like this. And so they have the information that we need, as does Dr. Hannafin, to say, okay, as soon as you plug in an X-ray machine, then you need these 3 licenses. I'm making up the number 3 right now, but from the state in order to make sure that all of those safety standards are followed. So yes, there are.
Yes, there, and for waste as well.
Yes, and for waste as well. Yes, definitely.
Do you have options?
Thank you.
Sorry. Do you have options as to the color of the trailer or the siding of the trailer?
Yes, definitely. Most of the trailers come through in sort of a general quiet beige. They can be decorated with our logo should we want it there, but they wouldn't have to be. So that the trailer itself should be able to have a low profile where it is.
And they do, the property that she was mentioned is in the historic district, so they would have to maybe speak with, make application and talk with them about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you would have a point of contact person.
Sorry?
You'd have a point of contact person as well.
For the trailer?
Yeah.
Yes.
For this sort of business. Mhm. Great. Be that contact person.
Yeah, we definitely anticipate a single staff member because somebody's got to unlock, relock, make sure the trailer is cleaned, make sure that the scheduling gets done. And we do have an individual and possibly other individuals interested in that already.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris, questions?
I don't have any questions. Just-
Okay. Maddie? Okay. Claire, did you have any, or did you get a chance?
No, my
Okay.
Jen answered. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Dosha, anything else? All right. Then I'll make a motion to. Okay. I will make a motion to send a favorable recommendation to the town council to amend the zoning ordinance to permit the addition of a trailer for a licensed veterinarian service for zoning section 111 and 112. The findings consist of number one, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan as the veterinary services are critical to quality of life for residents and visitors and their pets on Block Island. Two, it will provide a wider range of services for pets, such as x-rays, dental care, small surgical procedures, which need a proper equipped space in order to operate, a service that Block Island does not presently have. Number three, it will cut down on travel to the mainland, which is both time consuming and costly. Four, it will have no effect on the coastal features, wetlands, open space, or character of the neighborhood. Anything else we want to add or take out? Okay, not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, social seconds. Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No, I just
Motion
have a question
carries.
for if we have a moment for discussion between you. Margie,
What?
I just had a moment of the need to discuss one thing before we,
Well, before,
just quickly.
okay, go ahead.
Just to say, do we want to add to yours, some of the health standards that they have to abide by, the state standards to your list? Okay,
It's by law.
perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Number three, amendment to zoning ordinance. Review and act on the amendment to the zoning ordinance recommendation to the town council, including a finding of consistency with a comprehensive plan, the cannabis establishment, sections 202, 311, 312, 313, and 427. By the way, thank you guys very much for your work. Having had a lot of dogs been ill on Block Island, I'm sure we all appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. All right, we're on to cannabis. Okay, does, Peter, do you have any comments on the changes that we've incorporated?
I'm trying to pull up the map.
Yeah, we've got the map
That
here.
we made with 200-foot buffers. Does everyone have that?
Questions? Anybody?
No.
Sorry, I just have if a buffer extends into a property, does that mean that that property cannot have this establishment or just not within that buffer? Is that clear? That's fine. Sorry. Did that? Oh.
We are lost, I'm waiting for you to respond. I think well, we've changed, we've done the changes of the zones and the time of operation and so forth.
Whoever handled it all.
I think we've done, are you okay with the 200-foot buffers that they're?
We
talking
lost you
about?
for a second, but it looks
Yeah,
like
I'm
you're
back.
back.
Sorry about
Okay, here
that.
he is. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Sorry, Peter, I just had a question for you. If a property has, if a property falls within that 200-foot buffer, does that mean you can't have one of these establishments on it at all, or you can have it on your lot outside of that buffer?
I get it.
That's a great question. Let's see what the ordinance says.
Okay. I don't know the answer.
We did talk about this at the last meeting, and I don't think that it's clear in the ordinance. So like that'll be up to Jen to interpret.
So what I recall is the map that had the 200-foot buffer on it eliminated the majority of any zone that we were, that were in consideration, right? So
It
that
was 500 feet, Chris, so we reduced it to 200. We looked at reducing it to 200, so this is 200. I can pull up 500, but 500 we lose.
Right. And the state didn't have any, because this came up when we included Old Harbor. The state didn't have any buffer restrictions except for schools. Was that right?
Correct.
And then I thought the discussion was, why are we including a buffer with anything when we could just include the zone? So if we're going to limit it to just the zone, why is there a buffer except from a school?
I mean, the school is.
Because you,
It's,
early on, you
uh,
talked about
down
adding
under.
additional buffers.
You
I
talked
mean, that
about
was something that
hiking
was,
and
that was
Parks and so
clear.
forth.
Right, because we were looking at Old Harbor, and I don't remember it, like maybe I missed the last meeting, but I don't remember that, because Old Harbor, if you included buffers for churches, libraries, and everything else, you eliminate all of Old Harbor. So why are we including it?
No,
No, you have, there's, look at all, like, it's the same thing with,
You did it back with the 200,
right?
200-foot.
You're thinking 500 feet. With 200 feet, that changes it.
That changes, that makes life a lot easier.
Let me find it. Maybe I ought to look at it.
You don't have to vote on this today.
I don't
Oh, let's.
I think-
get it off the table.
You've done this enough.
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
And if ever,
I
my
got it.
biggest question, I wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with the 200-foot buffer. After you've had a chance to think about it, I'm comfortable with it, but I want to make sure everybody else is.
Was there not an answer? Is there not for?
Back to the original question.
what's the original question?
Yeah.
28.11-17.1, and that's the property where the proposed cannabis establishment is to be located at the time the license application is received by the commission is not located within 500 feet of a pre-existing public or private school providing education in kindergarten or any of grades 1 through 12, unless the city or town adopts an ordinance or bylaw that reduces the distance requirement.
Yeah, other cities had 500 when I was looking at the other cities.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
state law mandates the 500, but permits
Permit.
towns to
Do
do
you-
less.
Right, so we're gonna reduce it?
So we've
We're
talked
not
about
gonna
reducing
comply
it.
with that?
And I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that. I mean, our town is very small. If we start doing 500 feet, we're
Right.
not going to be able to have much space available.
I think the state restriction is only K through 12 schools, and New Shoreham only has the one school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct, so
We have
really,
preschool, but they didn't
right,
exactly,
it doesn't
they didn't
say,
address that.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why.
Right, we could do a restriction on preschools because there's no state restriction on preschools.
Yeah, you
So-
have it, Chad,
Right,
so-
so reducing it to 200 feet kind of.
Well, back to Claire's question, if you have 200-foot buffer impedes half of a lot in a approved zone, is it approved use on the other half that's not within the 200-foot buffer?
The way to
So I
state
think our ordinance draft is not clear.
property.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
the property.
It's
it
the
doesn't
property,
say
not
the-
the building. Right.
So again, these buffers.
You have to have buffers, Chris. If
I
this is
understand, but my point
500
is-
and you're gonna
my
reduce it
point
to
is-
2, it's.
No, my point is,
nothing.
Jen, is if you look at it and by what you just said, a buffer eliminates the lot, we're still at the same problem where on Ocean Ave, the north side of the street is all that's allowed because it eliminates all of New Harbor because there's a buffer.
Same
It
with
eliminates all of Old Harbor. So why did we go
License
through the exercise of
same
eliminating it?
It's the same thing with the liquor license.
But same thing with
I
liquor
understand it.
license, but it allows a lot of, I mean, there's quite a few.
It's not the same
properties.
thing with a liquor license because you could have a liquor license.
It's a
like-
church is what, 200 feet? Is that
No,
what-
I'm not saying church. I'm talking about, I'm looking at the map.
Mhm.
And if the buffer, which is in blue or red,
Mhm.
touches a lot, that
Mhm.
lot is not permitted for use of this, right?
Correct.
Am I wrong? So how many lots on our map, very nice map,
Why don't we
don't
try
get
to,
touched? That's kind of my
do you
point.
want us to,
That's what I brought
list-
up at the very beginning.
right,
Like, why are we even
list the
going through
numbers
this? Why are we
of-
just not allowing? Because
I'm
basically,
okay with the restriction just being the entrance
you know,
of
and
the
then I asked,
cannabis
Yeah, I don't,
establishment.
but that's not
that makes-
consistent with what it says in our, like, if you just say property, I think that might get really confusing to change something then from what it says in the state
Mhm.
law, and then how it would be applied to liquor. I think if it says property, we should leave it, but maybe we should look at, make a list of all of the properties that it would be allowed, just so you can see how many, right? Like, how many properties
right,
are
for right now, you
outside
have
of that. Mhm.
Old Harbor. And across the street from the police station, all the way down near water. Which is fine, I don't care, it's just, this was what I brought up at the very beginning,
Mhm.
when we had just service commercial. I'm like, what's the point if there's a buffer anywhere?
Then I think
And then
we
I
should
asked if the
get-
buffer, is the buffer required by state? And I was told, I thought, it was just specific to schools.
It's-
So I said,
Correct.
then why are we even considering a buffer? Just get rid of the buffer
Well, leave the buffer for schools, but you're saying remove the buffer for churches.
for everything else.
Maybe we should look at it again before you vote.
I like,
If you're
this isn't
not
gonna, like, no one's applying for this. This is
No.
actually practically impossible out here unless you grow the weed here.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah,
and if someone wants to do that down the line, then this maybe, I'm just saying, like, we've spent a lot of time on this. This is like,
But if you're still, if you have concerns, then we should
Yeah.
provide you with more information.
I don't need any more information. I thought the information was the only buffer required was for schools. Right?
We're talking about with the state,
I'm talking
Yep.
about state, and then we can
Yeah.
go less.
or you could, and you could add,
Or we could, yeah.
right, other
So the
buffer.
state requires a 500-foot buffer for schools.
Correct.
Okay.
So you went to 200.
So we
I don't-
required 200.
No, we haven't, we are exploring 200
Right.
because 500
For schools?
was a lot. No, just in general, right? 500 was a
saying
lot.
the
Yeah,
just
we're
in
looking at
general,
200. 200 might
There
be
is
a
no-
lot. Yep.
There should be a just in general. There shouldn't just be a buffer for the sake of having a buffer if the state doesn't require it, except for schools. Stick to the buffer for schools. Who cares what it is for anything else?
I agree.
I don't get it.
Part of it was that, the conversation started talking about, well, if a liquor establishment has to be outside of the, they have a buffer from churches, and
Sure.
you were trying to stay, at least that's my understanding, you're just trying to stay
Mirror that.
consistent with the liquor
Yeah.
establishments.
true.
And I thought I heard that at the council talking, but I'm not 100%, so no,
But-
I'm not saying that.
This wouldn't be consistent, because there's people in this, my property's in this buffer and I have a liquor license. It's not consistent.
I don't know what you're saying.
You-
Oh, consistent with the buffer
Consistent.
in the church.
I'm saying with the
Just-
church.
That's
What's that?
So maybe this map's wrong, because
no,
then
it's fine.
your property is not. Which one are we talking about? That Nick's is not near a school or a church?
it's right.
No, but I'm saying if you want to use a liquor
Yep.
license model, which quite frankly, I agree with, even at the state level, why they're doing this tangent, I don't know. Then use that. But the town liquor license model doesn't have a 200-foot buffer
From churches?
from anything, except for churches,
Yes, they do.
It does.
not from RCs, not from RA, not from RB.
From churches, it does.
From churches.
No,
and
I'm saying
schools.
churches and schools and libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So why
I don't know which buffer you're talking, like, why
Because
don't we just?
we buffer that?
The draft has a buffer from residential zones.
Yeah,
Right.
there's,
Okay, let's table it until next month.
But
And
the
look
reason
at it.
it did was because we were trying to stay away from families and what you call.
Family-friendly activities, I think that's what.
Family activities, yeah.
Am I correct though that
I don't think I am. This is just to purchase. It's not to consume. You aren't allowed to consume, correct, on these properties?
Correct. Oh, the property, yes.
Okay.
It's just for the license.
This is just for the, yeah.
So how do you feel? Do you want to postpone it until next month? when get
Can
some
we
more?
ask a few more questions? Just,
Well, I think what I need to do is kind of break out
uh-huh.
make some lists of properties.
That
so
would be helpful.
So you can see, well, okay, well, if we include the zone, this is what it looks like. If we include that, I mean, this buffer,
would
that
be
buffer, but I can't do that right now. Thank you.
Right, got it.
Okay. Then I suggest we table this for next time.
Okay, I can ask a
With the
question
goal
then.
of passing it next time. Mary, any questions pressing that would need, need Jen to research answers? If so, you want to give it to her?
Oh, sure.
I think
I just had a question about waste management. I think,
I don't think that goes in the ordinance, but like,
it was from our 412 draft.
okay. Peter can look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was Peter's draft.
Okay.
What is it, Peter? On F, number 5, waste management, compliance with all state cannabis waste requirements, including secure storage. And are some of those state requirements, as I started reading about them, it just wasn't clear to me, Peter, what would someone do with their waste here? Some towns had a set amount that they could sort of recycle on site, like no more than 20 cubic yards or feet or something. Do we have to get that specific, or is the state gonna sort of handle that for us? Or do we have the right to change those standards like we had the right to change from the state 500 feet setback? I guess the reason I'm asking.
We can't go any lower than what the state requires.
Mhm.
With the buffer, the state is specifically giving us an option to go lower. There's not an option to go lower on materials disposal. I don't know what the specific state rules on cannabis retail
Right.
waste products are. The
Are they just? Is it
Karen and
something-
Kendra might know that information.
Or is it something we don't have to consider because the state has taken that into consideration for us?
I don't know.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Add that to the list.
Okay.
Get back to you by the next meeting.
Thanks.
So just to clarify, it's whether or not you can further regulate the state's waste management procedures for cannabis?
I would say just really simply, what are the state waste management regulations for cannabis or requirements? Yeah, yeah, just that simple question.
Okay.
Would help me untangle a few more.
Okay, thank you. Good. So we hope to get it passed next month. That'll be our goal.
Yeah, because sometimes there's pesticides involved
Yeah.
in the waste of cannabis.
So they use like petroleum solvents to get the THC out of the product.
Mhm.
Like there can be some pretty serious chemicals
Chemicals,
used
yeah, synthetic
to produce
chemicals in there, yeah.
the edibles
Mm-hmm.
in particular.
Correct. Thank you for checking on that.
Okay.
I'm
All right, number
loving that.
4. Or outdoor lighting ordinance. Discuss and act on the amendment to zoning ordinance section 512, outdoor lighting ordinance. Recommendation to the town council, including a finding of consistency with the comprehensive plan. It's section 512, outdoor lighting ordinance.
So I took the comments that the council had based on our conversation last month, and I struck some parts of the ordinance. So it was most of let's see, D, I think 4 and E, which are the most controversial aspects of the draft that was sent to the council initially. Sorry, it's E, F, and G. D4 and then E, F, and G. So, page 3 and the page 4.
Page 3 and 4, okay. I was not there for the meeting, so it seemed to me that we took out a lot of material, uh, which I found a bit distressing, but what's left is good. The question is, do we want to add more material back into it?
Yeah, I felt there was a lot taken out there too. I also did not go to the meeting, so I don't know why that was taken out.
I certainly would want to put a section back in on being some kind of a good neighbor, because there's nothing about putting your luminaries or lights, whatever you want to call it, on a timer or sensor. There's nothing about that in there. There should be. Again, you mentioned shielding the lights. We certainly want to talk about the placing under the eaves where they shine down and don't shine out. Again, that we didn't address the glare that comes from huge windows or sliding glass doors. I don't know how you control that.
They were not in favor of that.
They were not in favor of that. Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we'd something about a good neighbor policy that if you're not in the room, that you close your drapes. Something just as simple as that. It's not a regulation, but it's drawing attention to a problem that could easily be solved by either turning out the lights as you go out the door, or, you know, drawing your drapes or your shades or whatever. And
These aren't suggestions to homeowners.
no, they are not suggestions. That
Part of it, if I recall correctly, it was something, how do you enforce something? Like, Claire, can you please close your curtains? Like, it's something that would be difficult to enforce. I think you're going
I
to
don't-
also do
no,
like an educational
I think that's
component to it.
That's what I said, it's being a good neighbor. This is not a regulation. It's a good neighbor, so that when they read through these regulations, that clicks in their head.
I agree. I mean, there's a house near me. It's lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And I think they have every single light on in their entire house.
It's me.
It's
not
not
doing
you.
it. I'm not.
It's not your house.
Anyway.
When that happens to me, I close my shades.
I would knock on your door.
Anyway, I understand where they're coming from about not wanting to regulate these things, and enforcement, I agree, is a definite problem. But perhaps we could add just a small section on how to be a good neighbor in the regulations, so that we don't have to put more regulations in down the road.
There is something, line 35, line 36. All properties in all zoning districts shall install the idea of being a good neighbor.
Maybe we could elaborate on that a little. Anyway, that was my thought. My other
Well, if you go to the end of your street and if you can see your house lit up like Christmas trees, open your neighbors. Something, I like look at your house from a different
perspective.
And I don't know.
Because I have heard from boaters when they come into New Harbor, and I'm sure Chris has heard the same thing, that there's several houses with all the lights on, and they have a lot of huge windows and sliding glass doors, and this reflects into the water, and you do lose your night sky compliance, and they find it very annoying.
I understand what you're saying.
Yep. So how do we do it?
There's some things that are unattainable, and this is one of them. You can't tell somebody that has a house on the waterfront to turn the frickin' lights off
No.
after, you can't do it.
Understand exactly what you're saying.
And when you're talking about New Harbor, that I could say when discussions were had, and I had to have some of them with people at Champlin's or the boat basin, or even in the hog pen, hey, the lights are a little bright. The problem got created. It's a lot better than it was. It's a whole lot better than it was. The discussion at the town council table that day, which was a work session, I believe, was a lot of it around enforceability and personal rights and security and my suggestion was at the planning board level is to work it into submitting a light plan, which happens, right?
New construction.
New construction light
Yes.
plan.
I don't think the building department requires a lighting plan.
But could we add that in?
We have,
I thought it
I
was-
thought I asked the
I thought
question
we
if
did
we
here.
had, we asked for landscape plans.
If you
And I was
have a
like, why don't we-
special use permit, if you have
Yeah.
an application before you, you may ask for
Yeah.
a lighting plan, and the zoning board may ask for a lighting plan, but if someone comes in to build a single family dwelling and they don't need any additional review, I don't recall seeing a lighting plan.
The other,
For a new dwelling,
Right, for a new dwelling, because the way the current ordinance, it says that like the building official would be the one to ask for those things.
Yeah.
so for the, I guess my point is for the enforceability on new builds, that's the time to do it, is
I
make
agree.
sure they all happen here. As far as enforceability on existing builds, that's a matter of you going over to your neighbor's house and asking them to turn the lights off. Like this, like, a lot of discussion was about pitting neighbor on neighbor with the so I'm gonna have to call Jen, because her lights are on, and say, hey, can you turn your lights off? Or am I gonna have to call Jen, the zoning enforcement, and say, hey, our neighbor has lights on. Can you tell them to turn the lights off? It's ridiculous. Like,
I would turn all of mine on. She calls me, I'm just kidding.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
It's,
Because it is excessive.
I've, I,
The
I-
lighting,
Yes.
yes, it is. And I think it's awkward for a neighbor, to your point. Sorry, I'm totally.
I think it's
interrupting.
awkward for neighbor against neighbor.
To call in and
Yeah.
complain.
well, if I was a
But
zoning
that's-
official and if someone called in, I was like, hey, Billy over here wants you to turn your lights off. Like, turn them off.
Well, Billy might not be as and forgiving.
But no, it's,
That's
what I'm saying is
awkwardness
Billy's
between-
name's gonna come up regardless of whether he does it or I do it as his own.
I usually just say,
Just
like,
saying-
received a complaint,
Okay,
so that
okay,
I
I'm home.
avoid,
Breaking the lights.
neighbor to neighbor.
Probably
and
uses
that's
the name, exactly.
Person's name, yeah.
Okay.
So the only insight I gleaned from that meeting was what was presented was entirely too restrictive, but the point was made to have something. And enforceability has to be, I mean, if you're gonna put anything as an ordinance, there has to be it has to be enforceable and within a reasonable amount. And I've said that with other things that we,
Mhm.
like,
Of
it's my
course.
biggest,
Yeah, we've heard that.
it's
Good.
my biggest thing. Like, another ordinance that we can't enforce, okay, but, so that's what I recall that was a month ago, so my memory.
So
isn't that
maybe you
great.
should spend some time looking at it, and we should circle back next month.
Okay.
To try to maybe add to it.
I feel like, sorry to interrupt, I feel like the only other thing that I would add to what Chris reported from the meeting was, it was a lot. There was so much
Yeah.
being done, and so maybe choosing 1, 2, 3 critically important things to this board to put forward to the council with a good explanation of why they are critically important, rather than, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I get lost and I'm like, what is 3,000 Kelvin? I have no idea. It's just, there's so much in here that it's hard to glean what's actually gonna create an impact and achieve the goal, which I still am myself a bit fuzzy on. I'm in favor, I also have had things where, I don't like it when my neighbors
Preferably
Marby's
800 lumens.
shining it. No, just kidding.
Don't go away like that.
Never. No, but I get the concern, but I think focusing in on specific actionable
Yeah.
changes, rather than broadening again, because I think that was the comment we got, was that it was too broad.
We did too much.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess too.
We shed too much
Okay.
light on the subject.
Okay.
Yes.
Very.
It's a long day. But Jen, there is something in your all new construction shall submit lighting plans.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, for you.
So,
More work for you.
So we want to pick this up again next month? Is
Yeah.
it- I think we're running out of steam, some of us. Okay.
And we could probably do the manufactured homes next month because that's brand new. Yeah, I know you're tired. And as much as I would love to have the
Is
use
this, sorry,
table,
just
I
that when we're reviewing the manufactured homes, this is something from state law that we have to?
Yes.
okay.
We could go through this very,
No,
No.
sorry,
No.
we can't.
And the other one, for the use table, I think we could do that next month. I would love to have it adopted at some point, but I keep changing so much of the
Okay.
ordinance that, yes.
okay, we do need to look at the dates for September. That will
Yes,
take.
we do look at the dates and, the noontime meeting is not going to work. So if you want to look at the 4 p.m.
Yeah, they work for me.
4, did I say 4 or 5? Yeah, 4. So Monday and Wednesday, the
Monday,
council
it's
has.
4 PM, which is the 14th, and Wednesday, which is the 16th at 4 PM.
So the council has a meeting after and,
Wait, are we in September? or
on
June?
Wednesday, so
Okay.
typically they start at 7, but there's a chance they would have a work session at 6. So, sometimes they do the closed session. So just think about that. If it's Wednesday, I know we would have 4 to 6 and that might be enough, but
I'm available.
okay.
Oh,
So
Would
whichever.
Monday work for everybody then?
Monday works.
Monday the
too.
14th?
Monday, the 14th? Anybody can't do Monday, the 14th?
Oh, this is your, yeah.
Yes,
September,
September.
Mhm.
What about Wednesday?
On
The,
Wednesday,
Wednesday, the 16th?
okay, then we will discount you.
Oh, right, for other reasons. Personal. Yeah, she's got another appointment.
what? Really? Congratulations.
That's wonderful. And that does take a priority. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
But
We'll
unpredictable.
excuse you. All right. So let's schedule this for Monday, the 14th at 4 PM. So circle that, guys, and put it on your calendar, if you will.
That will be our monthly meeting.
That's our monthly meeting, right? That's because of the election, just in case anybody didn't
Everybody
realize it.
vote. Monday, the 14th.
They changed the election date, so
September.
that's why we have to change our date.
So Monday the 14th.
Monday, the 14th, yeah. We can't get into the room, they'll have it set up and so forth.
You're exclusive, as long as
Okay.
you bring the baby
Okay.
in October.
Is that happening, Jen?
Yep.
June 3rd? Did I see something?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We're meeting with the council June
Oh,
3rd,
I think it is. It's early June. I can't remember the date. And
the Wednesday.
did everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
yes,
Sort of.
yes.
Yeah, from
April.
last month. They got done this afternoon. Well, if so, we will approve them. I make a motion that the minutes from April be approved. Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay, social seconds.
Oh, okay.
Any comments, corrections, additions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8 minutes after 6. Do I have a second, Sosha? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all for